Super happy to be here. Thanks for the kind words from Javette. He's as inspirational to me as hopefully I can share a few things with him, and look forward to sharing some thoughts with all of you. Purpose is my passion. I feel like it is my life's work, and it's taking a little while to get here, but I'll share a little bit of my journey. And more importantly, I'm going to share some actual examples. Hopefully there's some inspiring videos that will get your juices going and thinking about how you can apply some of these principles to your own business and marketing endeavors. Javette covered me, so I'm not going to go over that, but I do want to share a little bit of my journey as I talk about it. So I'm a marketing guy by trade, have been my whole life. I've spent my entire career on the agency side of the client agency fence, if you will. But from early on, before it became the thing to say, always looked for partnership with my clients and my brands. So I'm proud to have worked with some amazing, iconic global brands and some very small brands and nonprofits that no one has heard of. And I think all of those things are important because you can draw lessons and applications and share with each other in a collaborative manner. I was blessed early on to be exposed to the idea of using marketing for good. And that was primarily, like probably many of you, through pro bono work, working with nonprofits or charities and offering your skills, your talents, and your time in an effort to raise awareness or help some sort of charity. And that's important. But I also saw early on this notion of, well, hold on, some of those key principles of humanizing business, of thinking about the people behind the brands, of thinking of consumers as actual people like you and I, and not just target audiences and personas, is a very powerful way to work, and frankly, a very powerful way to live, right? Put yourself in someone's shoes, treat your neighbor as yourself, and so on. And so 15 years ago, and it's a very distinct milestone in my life, I became a cancer survivor and a father in the same year. And I was always mindful of purpose-driven marketing, what we now call purpose-driven marketing. But really, that was my impetus to say, life is short, and I want to do what I can to still make money, still drive profit, still make financial impact for my clients, for my family, for my company, but also do a little good in the world. And shouldn't there be a way that those things don't have to be mutually exclusive? And so that really propelled me to get involved in what was more called cause marketing at the time, and really think about, is there a way that I can make this not sort of a side project or a passion project, but really my life's work. This talk that I give is usually in person. So COVID aside, and I wish I was in Jamaica. I would love to be there with you. So we'll have to make do with a little bit of implicit interaction. But if you'd play along with me, I'd appreciate it. It'll help you stay more involved. So I always start with this. It's a question that maybe has simple answers, maybe not. So marketing is the business of selling what? How would you answer that question? And there's no right or wrong answer, right? Marketing is the business of selling, I don't know, products, ideas, concepts, services, solutions, right? The list goes on and on. I would offer that it's the business of selling opinions above and beyond all those things, right? Whether you are a marketer working on a brand on the client side, or a entrepreneur with your own business, or a marketing agency services provider, you've got to sell your opinion on what to do to someone, to yourself, to your partner, to your significant other, to your boss, to your organization, to your company, etc. That's the first step. But really what you're trying to do, whether it's a business to consumer situation or B2B or B2B2C, you're really trying to convey your take on the world and how your product, brand, service fits into that, right? That's a very different way of thinking. It's also, by the way, why, when you look at the annual surveys of sort of the most maligned or misunderstood and sometimes not liked industries, at least in the States, you get things like attorneys, dentists, and you get advertising and marketing, right? Because a lot of times we are, let's be honest with ourselves, we're blamed for creating a consumer culture, for generating fake need or demand for certain things. And I think that's partially true. But I also think that the tool is the tool and the skill is the skill, and what you do with it is really what matters. And for me, and I hope I share this with you a little bit today, turn that on its head, and you can use marketing for good. And when I say for good, I mean really in both ways, right? I mean the promise of purpose, and I mean promise in the double entendre dual meaning, is that the commitment, the opportunity is there for purpose-driven marketing to make both a business impact and a social impact. And the other word definition of promise, that is the covenant, the pledge, the opportunity, the upside of this type of work. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. In fact, many of you probably have seen these stats, and they update every 6 months or so. This is just a cherry picking of some of them. And by the way, I will share this presentation, Javette, with everyone if it's interesting to people so that they have it. But the case for purpose says that those things are not only not mutually exclusive, business impact, social impact, but in fact, they drive each other, right? In fact, not just anecdotal evidence, not just surveys, not just research, but actual real world results as defined by revenue, sales, employee engagement, shareholder value, stock price, volume, you name the financial KPI, and I guarantee you that those that adopt a authentic, purpose-driven brand and marketing model will do even better on those financial KPIs, right? So for many people that haven't been exposed to this, purpose may come across as this sort of hippy-dippy, granola-eating, tree-hugging kind of thing. And I think you're all seeing that in the most important business publications and thought leaders, you're not hearing a CEO talk about anything with their company if they're not talking about purpose. And this is why, because the value of purpose has now been unlocked. So I want to do something a little different.
I would describe my political.
I'm going to pause for a second. I've talked a lot, and so I want to pause here, do something a little different. So this video, I believe, is, I think, 4 minutes or so. It's a little bit long, but I promise you it will captivate you. And instead of setting it up further, I'd like you to just watch. So let me start over.
I would describe my political views as the new right.
I say that I'm left.
Feminism today is man-hating.
I would describe myself as a feminist, 100%.
I don't believe that climate change exists. We're not taking enough action on climate change.
I think it's about time these people got off their high horse and started looking for credible problems that actually exist.
It's absolutely critical that trans people have their own voice.
That's not right. You can't, you're a man, be a man, or you're a female, be a female.
Women do need to remember that we need you to have our children.
Could I be friends with someone that said the woman's place is in the home? Right, okay, well, I'm an expert at flat packs. If you have any trouble, just watch me.
So it looks like I've got your instructions here.
I think so. Let me help you.
Just that bit there.
Describe what it is like to be you in 5 adjectives.
Okay. Frustrating.
Dedicated.
Opinionated.
Lucky.
Ambitious.
Offensive.
Solemn. I have ups and downs.
Strong.
I want to say attacked. Misunderstood.
Name 3 things you and I have in common.
We're both male, we're both confident, and we're both loudly spoken.
We know each other better than people who've known each other for 10 minutes should.
You seem quite ambitious and positive, and you got this really got a glow. Do you know what I'm saying? Your aura's pretty cool.
I'm sensing, are you from military or something?
People have said that, but there is no
Really?
history. So are you then ex-military?
Yeah.
If you're ex-military, I'm very proud of you already.
Oh.
So I grew up in a bit of a rough state. I've experienced homelessness. I've known what it's like to have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely most grateful just for life.
We've only just met, but I think you're the sort of person that would listen to me and we'd have a discussion rather than argue. Yeah, you could hang out with, man.
Let's go. Chat.
Say, right, mate. Fitter than I look.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
So basically, I think we just put a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, each take a bottle and place it on its corresponding markings on the bar.
Attention, please now stand to watch a short film.
Feminism today is definitely an excuse for misandry, man-hating.
If somebody said to me that climate change is destroying the world, then I'd say that is total piffle.
So transgender, it is very odd. We're not set up to understand or see things like that.
I am a daughter, a wife. I am transgender.
I feel like the battle for feminism definitely isn't done. The fight is never going to be over, if I'm honest with you.
You now have a choice. You may go, or you can stay and discuss your differences over a beer.
I'm only joking.
You're having for a second then.
Well, I'm having a drink.
I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
I want to discuss.
Beer.
Yeah, beer and discuss.
Cheers.
At the end of the day, mate.
About reaching out to people,
with you.
yeah. And, you know, even if you wanted to convince people about your point, the productive thing to do would be to sit down and have a
Engage,
beer.
engage.
I've been brought up in a way where everything's black and white, but life isn't black and white.
Yeah, I'm just me.
Yeah. Smash the patriarchy.
I'll give you my mobile number, you give me yours, and we'll keep in touch. I'd have to tell my girlfriend that I'll be texting another girl. She might get upset with that, but I'll have to get round that.
I should tell my girl.
I wish I could see everyone's faces. So I've used that video a handful of times over the last few years, and it gives me a little goosebumps every time I watch it. It's a profound example of the power of purpose marketing to make you feel something about an issue and make you feel an affinity towards a brand, right? And yeah, that's a pretty dramatic example, right? High production quality, professional cameraman. I actually don't know if those are real people or actors, not that it matters. A 4-minute length, right? But what you're seeing is how deftly they're making the connection between, you know what? Yeah, if you're able to just sit down and have a drink, if you're able to just sit down and have a beer with someone and chat, if you're able to sit down and have a Heineken with someone and just, you know, have a discussion and talk it out, amazing things can happen. Now, I fully understand that many of you work for small brands, small companies, your own companies, and you're probably thinking, well, that's an extreme example. And it is. And so what I promise to share with you the rest of the day are some smaller examples that maybe aren't so dramatic in either their executional quality or taking on such serious issues. But first, let's talk a little bit about what is purpose, right? You've heard me say multiple times, driving business and social impact. Well, this really goes back to philanthropy. And believe it or not, in the late 1800s in the United States, the magnates, the moguls of Carnegie especially, started this idea of making a lot of money and then wanting to give it back to society at large and take credit for it, right? I think that's an important distinction, right? So donation or charity is more likely to be done in silent or without taking credit. Philanthropy is all about a company, a brand, a corporation, a named individual giving back to society, right? And these lines of demarcation are blurry, and the evolution continues, I would say. So this happened for years and years and years. Really, in the 1970s, this notion of CSR, corporate social responsibility, gained more traction. And this was really grounded in what we now call sustainability or environmentalism, worrying about the planet, right? And so thinking about what your product or service or company is doing that's harmful and trying to do less harm, okay? And then really in the late 80s, early 90s, and then the last 20 years, explosion of what is called cause marketing. And so this is taking one more step towards not just owning or wanting credit for what you're doing as a brand, but actively promoting it using some of your paid media or owned media or earned media. And this is important, involving the consumer, right? So it's not just a company and the community, but also involving the third C, the consumer, the customer. And so, one of the more famous examples that kind of was a lightning rod was Yoplait yogurt, right? And Lids for a Cause, and specifically for Susan G. Komen and breast cancer. And so you had a product, a brand that was in a highly competitive category, yogurt, fighting it out for primarily females and primarily moms to choose them. And they found a cause and issue that was very personal and profound, and said, hey, consumer, if you buy my brand instead of those guys' brand, I will donate X% of each sale back to this nonprofit, right? And that's a good thing. And as we all know, that probably took a life of its own. It became very transactional. How much did the company or brand really care about the issue or cause, et cetera, et cetera. Where we've headed really the past, I would say, 3 years, and we're really just getting going, is what I'm calling brand purpose. So this is the next level of not just what are you doing in marketing, maybe 6 weeks a year, but what are you doing as a brand? What do you stand for day in and day out, regardless of what your message is in the marketplace? How is purpose a part of the DNA of the company, right? And so one of the most highlighted examples of this in the States is Tom's Shoes, right? Buy one, give one. They started and have actually ended that model, but Warby Parker and others have picked up where they left off. So buy our shoes, and they're great, but we'll also give a pair to someone who needs it. Now, as a side note, one of the struggles that Tom's had, heart was in the great right place, but the shoe itself initially wasn't very good, frankly. They kind of forgot that what people care about most is themselves. So this is an important insight for everyone. Purpose is not always this halo effect. What can you do? You still have to have a great product or service or brand. You can't skip that part. And then really the past, I would say 2 years and moving forward, you're all seeing mention of ESG, environmental social governance. And I would think of this as less another element of evolution of purpose and more a principle, a way to measure a ratings of what you're doing. So environmental kind of says what it is. Social is really, how are you treating your people? How are you treating the supply chain? How are you treating your partners? What are you demanding of them? And governance is, what does your board of directors look like? Do you have people of color in a leadership position? So it's diversity and inclusion issues. It has to do with ethical issues around CEO pay packages, et cetera. So again, I would think of this as more of a metric as opposed to an evolution. All right, let's get into some more examples, right? Let's move from academia and philosophy, and what does this look like? I think most people are familiar with Patagonia. It certainly is in that continuum of a Heineken dramatic example. I would say this is absolutely brand activism, right? Patagonia has actually become polarizing because they have stood steadfast for what they believe. I am not suggesting or proposing every brand does this. I'm just showing you examples to pull from, right? And so Patagonia, from the beginning, I talked earlier about authenticity. These are not marketing programs. These are what the company stands for. It is the why they exist, in addition to, not in place of, in addition to sales, revenue, shareholder value, employee happiness, etc. Okay, so Patagonia from the very beginning said, we're about the outdoors and we want to build the best products that don't cause harm to the outdoors that we love, right? What a profoundly obvious statement, but living it is a different matter, right? And so this comes to life again, not just in the very famous "Don't buy this jacket" ad. And if you haven't seen this, this was a remarkable idea. I think it's about 20 years old. They repeat it every few years. And they took out full page ads that literally said, "Don't buy our products," right? Why in the world would they do that? They're making their point, if you read the body copy, that says, we build extremely quality, durable products that are sustainably built, double entendre, built correctly and built to sustain, built to last. So we'd rather you pay a little bit more for Patagonia instead of a knockoff brand or a store brand, because they're going to last forever and not cause issues in the environment, not cause extra pollution, not go back into dumps, etc. Right? They've moved forward with this notion even more. So for years, quietly, Patagonia offered, you could bring any shirt, pant, whatever, piece of merchandise into a store and have it repaired. They've recently, in the past 6 months, launched a brand certified, if you will, pre-owned opportunity for people to certify their Patagonia merchandise is real, authentic, and graded at a certain quality, and resell it. They were one of the original, actually, they were the founders of 1% for the Planet, which says we're going to give 1% of our revenue back to the planet. And we're going to be a founding member, but guess what? We're going to invite North Face, our competitor, to do the same. We're going to invite our entire industry and other industries to participate into this. Salesforce is one of our clients. Salesforce is another big member of 1% for the Planet.
No longer can we assume the Earth's resources are limitless. We wrote this in our first catalog in 1972. Nearly 50 years later, it's only gotten worse. Today, the clothing industry contributes up to 10% of the pollution driving the climate crisis. For as long as we've been in business, we've seen quality as an environmental issue. That's why we build clothes to endure, so you don't need to buy new as often. We make gear with recycled materials. We grow food and fiber the way nature intended. We promote safe and fair labor conditions for workers. There are some things you can do too. When you want something new, ask yourself, do I really need it? Look for one product you can use in multiple ways. Repair what you wear out and pass things down. Demand recycled. Demand fair trade. Demand organic. Buy less. Demand more.
Buy less, demand more. Well, guess what? People still buy more, but they're buying more Patagonia as opposed to North Face, Columbia, store brand, etc. So back to my earlier comments, yeah, this makes you feel good. They're taking a stand, good for them. But hey, Brian, I got to pay my bills. I got to provide for my family. I have employees I need to sustain. Well, guess what? Patagonia far exceeds the competition in sales, in profit, and an overall brand valuation. I hear you. You're probably thinking that's great for Heineken, that's great for Salesforce, that's great for Patagonia, but I'm a small brand with a smaller budget and I can't take big, massive stands on sometimes controversial issues. Okay. Well, I still would say the best way to create a connection with someone is to create a purposeful connection with someone. So I'm going to go the extreme other direction. This is a startup. This is a B2B startup that provides gifts of gratitude. It is an app that lets you easily and simply, let's say after a sales meeting, after a big presentation, or just as a thank you to either your employees or your biggest clients, say, hey, I appreciate you. Here is, and you can choose a $50 Starbucks gift card, fresh chef cooked meals delivered to your doors, some chocolate, some wine, thousands and thousands of actual gifts. The point is, it's an expression of appreciation that's done easily and simply. And this is part of the genius of the brand. The business model is that you only need their phone number or their email, right? So for years, people have been sending gifts, but what do you got to have? You got to have their physical address. You got to get through the gatekeeper. You got to get through the secretary, the administrative assistant, the spouse, etc. This removes all that. So this business model existed. They came to Matchfire and said, we don't have a big budget. We have a name, thanks. That's it. So pulling from hardcore insights and science, we got to a place of gratitude. So the why, the brand purpose of thanks, which is a very business to business, salesy, hardcore, making money, helping the sales funnel, is a bit of a touchy-feely gratitude, because guess what? When you express gratitude, people want to reciprocate it and show it back to you. So that is the purpose.
Looking to stand out from the competition and strengthen your business relationships? A simple thank you could make all the difference. Studies show that people who practice gratitude are more successful. Fortunately, sharing your appreciation has never been easier. Thanks curates thousands of thoughtful, appropriate gifts and services for any situation. Support a busy prospect with a week's worth of coffee. Surprise a key client with an Uber ride on a rainy day. Or congratulate an employee with a bottle of wine, all in a matter of seconds. Simply choose a gift, select your recipient's email or phone number, add a personal message, and hit send. Your gift is sent on the spot, and your recipient can accept at their convenience or donate the value to a charity without ever having to create an account or download an app. Even better, with real-time gift tracking, budget setting, tech integrations, and more. Thanks integrates seamlessly into your daily workflow. Discover how easy it is to grow your business with gratitude. Sign up for a demo today at thanks.com.
Another example, I think most people will recognize Mr. Chuck Norris there. I want to go back to, you can't force fit these things. So Javette, when he was introducing myself and Matchfire, we absolutely specialize in purpose-driven marketing, okay? It is more than 80% of what we do. But there's 20% where we are doing non-purpose driven marketing because it doesn't fit the situation. There's not an authentic reason for being. The why is already too far in the making or not able to be repositioned for it to make sense. So I want to be super clear. It has to be authentic. So Chuck Norris has a bottled water that we help launch. So this is an important backstory. This is not a celebrity that wanted to license his name and make a quick buck. So Chuck Norris, who many actually don't know, was an expert, actual martial art practitioner who became a movie star, who became a TV star with Walker, Texas Ranger, who in the midst of all that became an internet meme, right? For all the Chuck Norris said, Chuck Norris did type stuff. Okay, he is well taken care of in the financial area. He is an authentic outdoors Western person. It's not just a personality. He has a ranch that's in Texas, and when they were laying some new pipe for something else, they struck a Ice Age era aquifer underneath his land. And it turned out after some testing, that water was as pure as Fiji water, which most people know is very pure and has that soft mouth kind of feel. And so they wanted to do something with that. And so instead of just calling it Chuck Norris's water and making it sort of a meme and a joke, we did something very different. In talking with the family, Chuck is a bit older, and he and his wife are about legacy at this stage in their lives. How do they leave a legacy for what he stands for the family, and for the Chuck Norris brand moving forward? And so in doing some further research, the Norris family started Kickstart Kids years ago, which, as it implies, helps underserved kids with the learnings of karate and martial arts to help their confidence and get them away from the bad streets. Okay. So you might think, well, it's water. Shouldn't the obvious cause initiative be about water safety or sustainability? Well, that's what everyone else is doing. It's not authentic. Chuck Norris is about kicking ass and taking names, right? Chuck Norris is about martial arts. So let's own that in an authentic way. Now, this again wasn't just a marketing launch stunt. So in working with this company, we helped drive them towards sustainable packaging using 99% recycled materials. Again, let me call this out. It's bottled water. So that's not a very sustainable solution in the first place. Purpose doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. You're going to get some naysayers no matter what. Don't let good be the enemy of perfection. Do what you can. They also, instead of licensing or selling the rights to this water, saw it as a community service opportunity. They spent, I won't say how much, but it's a very large sum of their own money to build a bottling plant across the road themselves to employ many local residents who are looking for work. I can go on and on in the ways that this was purpose-driven and about leaving a legacy for the community and for the family.
My first day of karate, it was like the best day of my life.
It's taught me values that I can use not only here inside the karate room, but it can help me outside in the real world, like in school or at home.
I thought karate would just be about kicks and punches, but it has actually helped me become a better person.
I can get good morals for life, how to protect myself, and hang with my friends.
All right, so you get the idea. To connect the dots further, so 1% of every bottle of C4 sold goes to Kickstart Kids, as well as a large sum of money up front every year. And then certainly as in-kind, the water is provided not only to the kids at the tournaments, but also through the natural disasters that have happened throughout the states, and specifically the Gulf Coast area of Texas over the last 2 or 3 years. C-Force has always been there with donated water. So let's shift in a second. Again, I'm hearing you, even though I can't actually hear you. Hey, that's great. It's freaking Chuck Norris. He's got a big celebrity. He's got some private money. That's still not my situation. I own a car wash. I am a marketing manager at a technology company that's mid-market, right? This stuff doesn't really apply to me. I would beg to differ. Try to find what is a fit for your brand, personality-wise. Meathead movers. So what is more local and casual of a industry than moving? As the name implies, a meathead, for those that may not know, it's an older term, but it is a lovingly affectionate label for an athlete. It had historically some derogatory connotation, like they're kind of a lughead, they're stupid, but more and more it just means a lovable big person. And so the business model of Meathead Movers, as the name implies, was started by former college athletes who saw this underserved community, meaning athletes in college that don't make enough from their scholarships, that need some part-time work and are dedicated, responsible as it relates to the moving industry. What they further saw happening was organically, and this is unfortunate, with domestic violence rising and rising across the world, really, but especially in the States in the last 5 years, more and more they were fielding calls from desperate women, their sisters, their mothers, etc., saying, can you help me get her out of this situation? I need to get her moved out Thursday between 12 and 2 while there's a window where the guy or the girl isn't around. And so this became this really motivating, inspirational way to give back that absolutely fits into the core business, moving. And so the other thing I'm going to show you with this next video is, as is the personality of the owners in this category, this is very low production quality. This is not slick and not overly produced, but it is authentic.
Hey, my name is Aaron. This has been a crazy week. Our company and our story has gone viral, but it's so much more than just us. It's about the power of people wanting to give. There's a new way of giving back. Small business owners don't just have to write checks anymore. They can incorporate philanthropy through their services or their product. Here's our story. 18 years ago, my brother and I started Meathead Movers as a way to make money while going to school and playing sports. Periodically, we get phone calls from victims looking to flee abusive relationships. We started helping them out. We did it for free. Since then, we've been offering free moving services to victims of domestic violence in every market we serve. We haven't changed, but somehow the story caught on and it's inspired hundreds of people worldwide reach out to us. Facebook messages, tweets, emails, phone calls. It's been overwhelming. So we decided we're going to take this momentum and we're going to do something special. We're going to create a movement. So what is it? It's your stories. It's how businesses can give back their products and service to victims who are fleeing domestic violence, in transitional living, or during the stages as they're rebuilding their life. I challenge all small business owners to rethink their product and service and how they can directly help those in need. And we want to hear your stories. We want to take this unique opportunity and highlight the small business owners around the world that are giving back in their local communities. So for example, if you have a gym, offer some automotive and tell victims of domestic violence. If you have a security company, maybe you can help out offering some security services. The reality is domestic violence is everywhere, and it's overwhelming, to be honest, a bit emotional. We have an obligation and an opportunity to really, really help those in need. And I hope you join us. Look, we're just a couple movers, and heck, we call ourselves meatheads. If we can figure out a way to help victims of domestic violence, I know you can too. So join the movement, take the pledge, and let's move to end domestic violence. We can do this.
Okay, so what I'll share with you is, right, small company, it's a West Coast, California, West Coast of the United States. California, local actually company, not even regional. This story, because it was authentic and because it was done correctly, was on Good Morning America and picked up on news outlets around the world. There was an opportunity to turn this into a true movement and provide a vehicle for other small businesses, as Aaron just said in that video, to join. And so my point is, you don't have to be big and you don't have to have a lot of money. In fact, you can form coalitions with other like-minded businesses and raise the impact. And here's what's important. I will tell you off the record that their sales and phone calls went through the roof. They are now expanding regionally and looking at nationwide expansion. So again, this isn't touchy-feely doing the right thing. It's doing the right thing that will help your business. I have two more examples for you. I'm going to show you something different. We've talked a lot about why. And again, I'll show these slides later. But if you just look at the top here, don't get mired in all the details. NDN is a social enterprise. It's indigenous people that have created a enterprise across all tribes, across all cultures, to stand up for their rights in the United States. It is both nonprofit and for-profit. It has for-profit initiatives in terms of security services, cafes, et cetera, all under the same mission. Okay, so when I talk about why behind the what, who, and how, this is a good example. I'm using a nonprofit a social enterprise example so that it'll jar you from thinking about things the same way. So I just talked about who, that is positioning, who you are in relation to other people. So NDN is a national organization that does certain things. That what do they do is their mission, right? And that's, we worked on all of these things, but I'm not going to get into the details. I want you to understand the difference between who, why, what, and how. How they do it is specifically the programmatic or category or business lines or products or services or whatever is applicable to your situation. But it all comes back to why. Why are you doing it? To make money. Why are you making money? Right? Keep saying why until you get to a core answer. The core answer for NDN is to build indigenous power. Okay, each of those words is very deliberate and intentional, right? That's a very active, confident stance. That connotation says it is a work in progress, but we're taking action, okay? Those are very intentional words that provide the rallying cry, that really end up serving as whether we should launch a new product or service. Should we make this decision or that? Purpose is like a lighthouse. It guides you on your path. It helps you avoid rocks you can't see and provides a destination for your journey. We talk about brand stories quite a bit. A brand story is one part origin. How did your brand or company, product or service come into existence? Is there a founder involved? Is there a personality involved? Is there an amazing story involved? More importantly, it conveys in a very emotional and connective way why you exist. When we write brand statements, they are 90% of the time never seen by anyone outside of the company, and sometimes never seen beyond leadership of the company. And I don't care if the leadership of the company is a Fortune 500 or a 10-person small business or a 2-person proprietorship. Sometimes the brand story is so motivating that it becomes outwardly facing. And here's an example of that.
How long are you going to let other people decide the future for your children? Are you not warriors? We are unapologetically, unabashedly Andean. United like never before, we rise together, arm in arm, to equip all indigenous people with the tools needed to become the architects of our future. Through a holistic approach to infrastructure, funding, capacity, movement building, and philanthropy, we are fostering a world of justice and equity for all people and the planet. If we want to transform the world, our vision has to be as great as the challenges we are faced with. It's not time to come from a place of fear. It's time to come from a place of power.
Right? That gives you a sense of who they are, what they do, how they do it, but more importantly, why. They want to build the power back of indigenous people. That's a very compelling way to think about their business, their efforts, their initiatives, who they hire, who they don't hire, etc. Last example. One of the things I think Javette hinted at with Purposewerx, in many ways, this next example from LG Electronics that we did was a precursor to this idea. So I'm happy to say Purposewerx is launching in 2 weeks, and it will be a global network. We're calling it a collective, a global network of purpose-driven companies. And so it's going to enable, and Javette's team and Point Global and my group and Matchfire are founding members along with 10 other companies, all that do very specific, specialized things, whether it's media, whether it's direct mail, whether it's PR, whether it's design, digital, diversity and inclusion, etc. It lets everyone stay in their expertise, but the commonality is that we're all purpose-driven. We have taken this approach to marketing as our life's work and the way that we drive our business and our clients' business. So it's going to enable scale that each of us hasn't been able to offer before, whether that's additional services and capabilities, or whether that's collectively working together in service of a very large company or enterprise that any one of us couldn't do on our own. What's important about all of this is, regardless of the marketing tactic that you're using, the discipline, I hope what you take away from today is purpose, if done authentically to your brand, creates compelling content. At the end of the day, to come full circle, I talked about marketing as the selling of opinions. The best way to sell an opinion, to persuade, to convince someone, whether to buy your product, whether to support your brand initiative, whether to if you're working with a nonprofit, make a donation, is to have a compelling story that motivates them, but it has to be authentic. LG Electronics, Korean company, many don't know that LG initially stood for Life's Good. LG Life's Good is one of the top 3 makers of appliances, electronics, etc. So think refrigerators, ovens, TVs, monitors, etc., etc. A very transactional category, a very what's on sale type of category, a very competitive, price-driven category. Our job was to find a deeper way to connect with the consumer, and specifically based on research, we were finding that the younger generation, the next generation that would hopefully serve as the consumer for LG, had not only no emotional connection, they didn't know that they existed. And in fact, the vast majority of purchasers of any LG product tended to skew older. So there was a need to start down-aging the brand and make a connection in order for it to literally survive the next 2 generations. What we found in focusing on a younger audience and talking with their parents, their loved ones, their friends, their siblings, etc., is that there's this amazing stress going on. And this platform was started 2.5 years ago. So for sure pre-COVID. COVID has only magnified this issue. And that is this amazing stress that kids feel all over the world, at all ages, all socioeconomic backgrounds, all races and creeds, to perform, overperform, or just make it through school. And how do they fit in? And how do they find who they are? And all of those things, all of us probably remember when we were younger. So what the hell, excuse my language, can an appliance company do about that in an authentic way that just doesn't come across as cause washing? Well, again, this is an extreme example to prove my point. It was a larger budget, but we spent almost a full year in stealth mode building a program appropriately so that we did have license to talk about this in an authentic way that wasn't dismissed. And we found nonprofit partners that would provide not just legitimacy from a promotion standpoint, but authority in terms of education, content, and programming. Discovery Education was that partner for us. And what we ended up doing was creating what's called Experience Happiness. That is the Purpose platform. Experience Happiness is derivative of Life's Good because we are equipping students with the tips, tools, life skills to better make it through the world they live in. All brought to you by LG, okay? And it's a very hopeful, a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of curriculum. We went into schools across the country and provided free, sponsored, but free content and curriculum that help kids deal with some of these issues. I'm happy to say that the program not only succeeded and exceeded expectations. This was a bit of a leap of faith by everyone. It was picked up for reoccurring year 2, year 3, and now year 4. It started as an overall brand initiative, and it's now at the root of what LG stands for overall, not just as their purpose initiative. And here's the way it looks. Till the sun comes up, till the sun comes up, till the sun comes up. Feeling warm, so let us swim. Till the sun comes up, till the sun comes up. I'll leave you with this. It's one of my favorite quotes from Emerson. It talks about the definition of success. If you read it, absolutely there's elements of financial and performative success, but more importantly, how do you use your talents, your treasure, your time to do the things you need to do to make a living for your family, to raise the revenue, sales, profit of your company, but also not forget about the people and to leave the world a little bit better than the way that you found it. Yeah, thank you for your time. I wish I could see your faces, and happy to take any questions if we're allowed to do that, Javette.
Wonderful presentation, Brian. Thank you so much for that enlightening presentation. I have a couple questions that I want to quickly throw at you, and I don't know if the audience has any questions as well. But my first question actually is around what would you say is important for businesses when they are starting on the journey of how can they incorporate more purpose into their marketing? What is the first 1, 2, 3 steps that they should be following to do this properly?
I would say start with what you're already doing. I think many companies and brands are already doing some sort of purpose initiative and maybe not realize it, or maybe they're not taking public credit for it. So look at what you're already doing first. The second thing I would say is connect what your company or product or brand is to your purpose. So don't, sometimes we have leaders in our organization or clients or founders that personally are very involved in homelessness. That's a great thing and an important issue to take on. If that doesn't connect to the root of the company, the brand, and what they do, then leave that as a personal initiative for that person. Right. Don't try to shove it into the purpose of the company. Find something that's tied to the initiatives of the brand.
Another question around, you stressed the need for authenticity. And for companies that may be around for a while, say they're into traditional industry, shipping and logistics, and they may have a long-standing approach, how do they incorporate more purpose? What would you guide them as, say, a way of incorporating more purpose in what they're working on and how they're doing for more traditional businesses?
Yeah, I'll go back to what I started with. I firmly believe, and I've staked my career, and I think many of us have, that every company in every category of every size should have a purpose. And so a shipping logistics company, right, to your point, maybe traditional, very sort of kind of a cold, not a lot of personality to the business. Authenticity comes into 2 ways. One, find a purpose that's authentic to that industry and what you do, right? So at the core, it's about solutions that get things from one place to another for the betterment of everyone. So in the same way that the moving company still used moving, but in a way that helps society, I would say the same thing applies right here.
Right.
And the second part of authenticity is, if you're going to do it, make sure you're actually going to do it. So unfortunately, there are times where people do a little bit and talk about it a lot. You should turn it on its head, and you should do a lot and talk about it a medium amount.
Yeah. Finally, I'm sorry we don't have more time for questions, but you mentioned what I see is a huge announcement, and the Point Global is super happy to be a part of the Purposewerx collective. I just want you to talk a little bit for the audience to kind of give them an idea of the scope of what they can expect from this collective, and what's the impact that our clients, if some of them are listening, or potential clients, what they can expect from this collaboration.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I would say the short answer is, the one word answer is scale.
Yeah.
And I would say it's scale both horizontally and vertically. So regardless, again, of what size of company that we're helping, if it's a Fortune 500 huge enterprise or a smaller company, because we're banding together and each staying specific into what we do, but working integrated across each other, this is important, with a single point of contact, right? So for many clients, they have unfortunately dealt with many agencies, and it makes life more complicated. Our promise is to make life less complicated, because it's still a single point leader that's going to work across the different agencies to bring solutions across capabilities, whether it's deeper for one client or many solutions for a larger client.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Brian. I look forward to coming to Dallas and hanging out a little bit. I'm sure the audience enjoyed your presentation as much as I did, and will take a lot from it to incorporate purpose within their individual marketing and business.